So in my previous video, I went over how the exam, this Kentei Level 10 exam past paper is structured, and what the questions were, how to answer them, and how to compare your answers to the answer sheet, and how to count your score. In this video, I will go into a bit more detail and go through the translations of each of the questions, so that when you are sitting the exam, you have a better chance of being able to actually read the question. And you'll see there's like some repetitive structures to the sentence that will help. So question 1. Each of these questions basically start with tsugi no, which means next. So tsugi no bun. Bun is sentence. So tsugi no bun is next sentence. O yonde. And yonde is the yomu. It's the te form of yomu. So my Japanese is not super advanced, so I'm not 100% sure if this is like, hey, read this, or if it means like after reading this, do the next part. So, tsugi no bun o yonde, read the following sentence. And then for a long time, I couldn't figure out what this line meant, whether it was like an extended syllable, or if it was like, if it meant line, or if it meant like one, but somehow for some reason they'd written it vertically. And then while I was making this video, I made the comparison to some of the other questions where they actually like put the symbol in there. So they've got one for the box, and they have one with a circle, and that's how I figured out that they were literally just drawing the line here that is here. So this is confusing because when I was looking at sen in the dictionary, it was telling me that that meant line. So now I'm saying line, line. So sen no kanji. So you've got the character for the kanji for character, and the hiragana together. This is kanji. No yomigana. Yomi is like read, or the root of read. Gana, so together yomigana means the reading of a kanji, so like how to say it basically. O, and then again you've got the line. Sen no migi. Migi is right, so on the right of the line. Kaki nasai. And kaki nasai is the nasai form of kaku, to write. So this is like a request / order in a form that's typically used from a teacher said to a school child, or like a police officer to a citizen. So tsugi no bun o yonde, sen no kanji no yomigana o sen no migi ni kaki nasai. So read the following sentence and write the kanji reading on the right of the kanji of the line. And I think they mean write it vertically from top to bottom. I highly recommend to actually try and translate any words that you don't understand or you're not sure about. This is a really good exercise just to practice learning new vocabulary and deciphering a sentence. And I was quite surprised by the level of language that they were using, which to a 7-year-old child might be quite obvious, but to a beginner in Japanese might not be words that you were exposed to. I'll go here first. So here it says, Koko ni wa kakanai koto. And this is important. It basically says don't write here in this box. They write this sort of thing in other places. So here, koko ni wa kakanai koto, don't write here. And here they says kore kara, from here on. Kore kara shita kakanai koto. Don't write from here on. So don't write underneath this line. Question 2. Tsugi no. Like I said, it starts with next. Kanji no. And again, like now you're seeing some patterns, like things that are being repeated in multiple questions that are worth learning by heart. Tsugi no kanji no futoi. Futoi means thick. Tokoro, place. Wa nanban is how many or what number. Nanban me ni. So nanban me is number of strokes. Kakimasu ka. This would mean how many strokes is the thick line of the kanji, basically. And you can see here, these kanji have like one stroke that is thicker than normal. And so it's asking you, what is the stroke number of that stroke? So for the kanji for fire, I know it's written 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would write 3 down there. According to the answer sheet, the answers are written in Roman numerals rather than kanji. So it's possible that they don't accept kanji as an answer, but I'm not sure about this. So the second part of this question, so you've got the circle, maru no naka ni, so inside the circle. Suji, I'm not 100% this is right, red G in this sentence, but suji would mean the number. O kaki nasai. Again, the nasai form of kaku, so to write. So write the number in the circle. And yeah, these are written by hand because I ran out of printer ink. Question 3 is written exactly the same way as question 1, but there is a difference in how the question is answered. So again, it's tsugi no bun, next sentence, o yonde, read the following sentence, and then sen no kanji no yomigana o sen no migi ni kakinasai. So again, write on the right hand side of the kanji on the right of the line. But this time, each kanji is written in 2 different sentences, and there's a different reading for each one. So in this one, the kanji is written kin, and in this one is written kane. And I didn't know this particular word that's being used, but I was able to guess it correctly by process of elimination, because I knew the word okane to mean money, and I knew that the other common reading of the gold kanji is in Friday, kinyobi, and so that was my best guess, was that this was written kin. So it's worth learning a few different ways that the kanji is used. So even if you don't necessarily know the word, you might be able to make a fairly good guess as to how it's written. Question 4, for tsugi no kotoba. Kotoba is word. Next word, no yomi kana, reading. De tadashi, tadashi is correct. And tadashi hono is the correct one. Bango is number. So, bango ni maru o tsukenasai. Tsukenasai, I think means to put on. So I translated the sentence as, next, circle the number for the correct word reading. And here you have these kanji, and although there's a big space between them, they should be read as one word. So you have the kanji for king, and you have the kanji for child. Together they mean prince. and they're asking you which of these two readings is correct. So I got it wrong. I said oji, but it was oji. Well, it's pronounced oji in both cases, basically, but I wrote it wrong. And yeah, so for some of these, like, you might be able to sort of guess. For some of them, they're more unfamiliar. This one, you've got the kanji for blue and the kanji for year. But instead of being, ao and toshi, it's seinen. Seinen means new year. And again, this is not a word that I was familiar with, but I was able to guess it. Issatsu, I knew from going on Duolingo. It's a counter for, satsu is a counter for books. And so I knew that ichi and satsu was like a little tsu. So issatsu and not itsusatsu. This is ue and shita, but as one word together, up and down. I got this wrong. It's actually written and pronounced joge. So yeah, worth learning a few combinations of words and their readings for all of the kanji that you're learning. But even if you don't know all of them, that's fine. You can probably still get a passing mark and guess some of them. Question 5. So I googled, and apparently the word for box in Japanese is hako. So hako ni hiragana o ichi ji. So one character, kaite. It's the te form of kaku, to write. So in the box, write a single hiragana character. Tsugi, next. Kotoba no yomi o kotae nasai. Kotae nasai is the nasai form of kotaeru, which is to answer. So next answer, this question means in the box write the answer for the word reading using a single hiragana character. And then for this question, for some reason, they've given you an example of how to do this. So rei means example. And then, so from here on, you have the actual example. And it says Fuji. You've got the kanji for mountain here. And you're supposed to figure out what the hiragana reading of the kanji is. But they only make you write one of the hiragana characters in the box. So they've given you a clue that there's an n sound in there. So it's read, instead of being read Fujiyama, for example, it's read Fuji-san. And yeah, so then you're supposed to answer the rest of them. So this one doesn't count for any points, of course. And then you've got hirari and migi. And instead of being pronounced hidari and migi, when they're used together as one word, they mean left and right, and it's actually pronounced sayu, and I didn't know this. So yeah, there's a bunch of words that I wasn't familiar with, and their readings I wasn't familiar with, but the others I was able to guess correctly. So the year and above, because they had to, and I know toshi is one of the readings for year, I was able to guess that one correctly. I knew that suiyobi is Wednesday, is one of the uses for this character. And I know that Chugoku, China, uses this character, or middle school as well. So I was able to guess the reading of this word based on the information I was given. Here it's basically telling you, so ura mo wasurezu ni yarimashou. Sho is like let's do this form of the verb. Wasurezu Reru, I think, is like forget. So it's saying, let's not forget the back. So I think in the actual exam, they are maybe two-sided papers, but not the way that I've printed them. And here it's saying the same thing. It says, urae tsuku, which means continue to the back, or like basically flip the page. And then it's telling you not to write here as well. Yeah, and then last question, we've got tsugi no, and this should be starting to get pretty familiar to you now. Tsugi no hako no naka ni, so next in the box, kanji o kakinasai. So write the kanji in the box. And then this one, they give you a kanji, and you're supposed to kind of guess the connection. They give you the reading of the kanji, which could mean a lot of different things with no context, but because they've given you something to go by, you can make a connection. So, kuchi is mouth, and I know that, okay, you're talking about eyes, and you're talking about a mouth. Okay, body parts, sure, there's a connection. This one is machi, meaning town, and they tell me I need to write a kanji for Mura. I can guess that they mean Mura, the village. This is akai. Akai means red, and they tell me that they want the kanji for shiro. Shiro means white, so okay, that's a pretty good confirmation. They mean colors, so I've got the right kanji for that. And so on. For some of them, they didn't write kanji, they write in hiragana. So that might make it a little bit trickier because they might be using words that you're not familiar with. But there's a good chance you'll still be able to guess the correct kanji based on the fact that they only asked for 80 kanji in this test. And so there's not that many common ones that they may be thinking of. I got one wrong here. I was thinking hanabi, like fireworks, but I didn't pay attention enough because it said ki and not bi. In ki they meant tree, so the connection was plant and not like making a connecting word that together would make sense. Question 7. Tsugi no bun o yonde. Read the following sentence, comma, hako no naka ni kanji o kakinasai. So inside the box, write the kanji. Read the following sentence. In the box, write the kanji. So again, you're just reading the hiragana here, and you're writing the corresponding kanji. And then this part I found was pretty hard because you can get distracted by the fact that they're using vocabulary you might not be familiar with. Like, there's some that you can guess, but there are others that are a little bit harder. And I found this actually in one of the previous exercises. So exercise 1, for example, they use the word bata, and apparently that means like fluttered or paddled. So they're talking about like a kid paddling in the pool. And bata is a word that like a school child would know because it's kind of childish. They would have learned it while they were swimming. They learn a lot of like sound noises, for example. But as a beginner learner of Japanese, you wouldn't hear about this kind of word until like much, much later. And then like this one here, sanjikan, you might know as like 3 hours long, for example. But sanjikan meni, you're like, okay, what do eyes have to do with time? But actually, if you Google it, you find out that sanji meni means the third period at school. So you're probably gonna have some stuff that you don't understand, but don't let yourself get distracted by that. You can still answer the questions most of the time correctly without knowing or fully understanding the sentence, but give it your best shot. Just don't spend like 20 minutes trying to understand the sentence, like move on. Yeah, and then like learning the different verb forms, like the te form and the past form. Like here, like you might know asobi, to play, but asonde, you're like, what does a Sunday mean? But if you read the sentence, you think, okay, there's like a little girl and she's got a red umbrella, it's a rainy day, okay, maybe she's playing. There's something to do with water, she's playing in the water. So maybe you don't know the word for puddle, but you can kind of vaguely figure out what she's doing, because you know that there is a verb form with de, and you can figure out that the root of asonde is asobu, to play. Same thing with like the past form, like itta instead of iku, to go. So like these are just like, if you learn like nasai, te, mas, shimas, the past form, like you should have a pretty good starting point for all of these. And I think that is it. So you can find this practice exam online. I think this is the only copy basically. But yeah, it's a really good exercise to like just get the Japanese keyboard on your phone, go on Google Translator and just like practice translating all of the parts that you don't know, and double checking your translations as well. And using the kanji instead of hiragana in Google Translator will make it so much more accurate. And it's good practice for you to like try and guess the kanji when, like, if you're presented with hiragana and you're not sure, like you can go through different options or try and guess what the correct one is.